Thank you for the invitation to join the 2020 School Wellness Summit. I'm so happy to be here with you today. I would like to talk about a few things today. Zoom fatigue, balancing screen time for kids, and how we manage the stress of our current normal, which is filled with uncertainties, ever-changing, and wreaking havoc on our normal current routines. People have shared some hilarious stories about their online meeting experiences during the pandemic. Everything from participants showing up to Zoom in their pajamas and shaving in the meeting, to having a family member walk behind the screen wearing, well, not much. Those heads staring back at us for long periods of time can be a bit disconcerting. And then there's the fatigue that sets in after 3 to 4 hours of Zooming. There's no doubt that teaching via Zoom and or working from home during the pandemic has meant a lot of changes to a lot of routines. For the record, it's not just Zoom. The online meeting fatigue is just as likely from other video conferencing platforms, including Google Hangouts and Meet, Skype, Microsoft Teams, GoToMeetings, FaceTime, BlueJeans, Slack, House Party, and so on. For teachers teaching remotely or others working remotely and participating in a full day of classes or a plethora of online meetings, you may wonder why these Zoom classes or meetings seem more tiring than they do when you're in person. One reason may be the need to constantly appear in tuned and interested in what is being said. Continued and sustained eye contact is exhausting, to say the least. Also, with in-person teaching or meetings, we automatically rely on the nonverbal cues, such as body language, to make judgments regarding asking questions or providing input. Physical cues, such as students fidgeting and checking their smartphones to help us determine how information is being perceived and their level of attentiveness, is challenged. With online teaching or meetings, we must rely mainly on verbal information to interpret people's emotions. Paying more attention to these consumes a lot of energy, and it gets really tiring. Another reason may be the lack of usual in-person class or meeting rituals. Things like greetings, high fives, fist bumps, handshakes, going to get coffee or water, and the general chit-chat among meeting participants or classmates. Missing out on these rituals that serve to put people at ease and help to build rapport all make for a less comfortable and a more exhausting day of teaching or day at the office. So, what can you do? I'll name a couple of things. Number one, whereas there's not an option for our current schools engaged in remote learning for meeting outside the classroom, or for school staff who are not teaching, consider whether the online meeting needs to happen at all. In some cases, shared document platforms with detailed comments can reduce the need to meet. Number two, consider working to limit the number of Zoom meetings in a day outside of class teaching time, including giving yourself a break in between meetings or in between classes if possible. You should also consider foregoing the online meeting and instead use email messaging to get the work done whenever you have the opportunity to do so. Make sure that there is an agenda for every one of your video meetings or class time. This way, everyone will know what to expect and what is expected to be accomplished during the meeting as far as what the structure will look like, making the meeting more productive and hopefully shorter. Next, outside of classroom teaching, you may also consider picking up the telephone for a one-on-one conversation instead of scheduling an online meeting. Of course, this isn't an option for classroom teaching, but it is for many of the other activities. By using the phone, we only have to concentrate on voices, and we can move about while we're talking, and this gets us moving. It enhances our thinking process. It's a whole different and of value communication process that I think many of us sometimes forget. Next, be sure to schedule screen-free time in your day. By designating some video call-free time, you can reduce your feelings of being overwhelmed. Instead, choose some screen-free activities such as exercising or enjoying a hobby, even if it's a brief period of time. Many parents are asking the question also on how to manage excessive screen time for their kids. I've been in multiple parent forums lately by Zoom, and I can say that this is one of the top questions I hear each time. Some practical tips for parents, which teachers can certainly support, include scheduling dedicated play or hangout time with your kids. Even if it's 15 or 20 minutes a day, it will make a huge difference. Create a natural playground environment for young kids to explore. You can do this with low-cost or no-cost items within the home or backyard. For younger kids, create an active space where kids can burn off energy. This could be rearranging furniture in the house, supplying balls safe for tossing in the house, pillows and blankets for building forts. Another idea is to rotate in toys and encourage a new hobby. The novelty of something new can help capture their interest. As an example, for older kids, you may introduce new art projects or supplies. I know in our household right now, growing plants has become a hobby. We've got seedlings, we have clippings from other plants, and it's a really fun thing to go and check on in between class time. Give younger children an interactive book instead of an electronic tablet. Remember that screens are a privilege for children and not a right. And this is the case for all ages of kids, and something so very, very often forgotten by parents. Screens are a privilege, not a right. Let children get bored now and then. This gives them a chance to develop their imagination, their creativity. Encourage healthy habits to avoid GI issues while Zooming. Encourage children to get up, move around, drink water, eat healthy foods. Finally, let's keep in mind some of the good things about Zooming and online meetings. We don't have to travel from one meeting to the other. It saves time in our days. We don't have to dress up from the waist down if we choose not to. We can sit in our favorite chair with a cuddly blanket or fuzzy slippers, and no one will be the wiser. And we have a choice to mute ourselves or stop video if needed. And for animal lovers, you can Zoom and pet your pet at the same time. Sometimes it's really those little things that matter. Though there are definitely some silver linings that have come from living within this pandemic, it's not a question that it's impacted the routines of everyone. And it's caused a really good amount of stress for everyone. A constantly changing environment where we are unable to predict changes at times and have little control over the changes being made are the key ingredients for stress. However, this doesn't have to mean that our experience with living in a pandemic has to be bad. And it will be our experiences for students, teachers, and staff which create resiliency, which will carry us far beyond this difficult time. I would like to share some tools which may be helpful with coping during this challenging time. Not only living within the changing landscape of COVID, but the constant pivoting and juggling between family, work, and personal time. Number one is self-care. As teachers and school employees, you tend to always place students first, all the time. In fact, students and others, but placing other people before yourself. And for many who are teaching remotely while having your own kids at home learning, this becomes all the more challenging. Be sure to carve out time to take care of yourself and do something you enjoy. And when you take a break in the middle of your day, that doesn't mean using it to fold clothes or to prepare snacks. It means to carve out just a few minutes to do something for just you. This will allow you to recharge and better able you to support the needs of the kids that you're working with. Next, stay connected with others and reach out for support. Their connections with other teachers and school staff are going to be key because they're in the same boat as you. Share stories, share things that are working for you, and when extra support is needed, be especially sure to reach out during those times. Limit access to the news. Find a few good sources of news that work for you that you trust and check them just a couple times a day without staying glued. Normalize feelings of stress. Everyone is feeling anxious and stressed right now. None of us has experienced living within a pandemic before, and we're all feeling anxious and stressed, and this is okay. Remember that anxiety is our body's alarm system to alert us to threats, and right now, it's doing a good job. Acknowledging how you're feeling, naming the feelings, talking to others, this can all be very, very helpful. Exercise, get outdoors, move your body, develop a routine which dedicates time for physical exercise. Moving your body daily is critical to avoid both low energy as well as feeling depressed, and in fact can elevate your energy. And it's okay to modify. If you're someone that used to run 45 minutes a day and there's no possible way you can work that in now, that's okay. Don't stop it altogether. Maybe do a 20-minute run. Shift perspective. There is so much that is unknown and outside of our control right now. Shift focus towards what you do know and what you can control instead. And this is a really helpful tool also to help teach the children that you're working with or your own kids. Keep routines. So important. Routines and schedules ground us in a sense of normalcy and knowing what to expect. For adults as well as children, it's likely that our schedules have been disrupted, but that's okay. We can create new routines and new schedules, but having them is just critically important. I also want to share some tips for managing high anxiety. So not just the normal stress we're feeling throughout the day and the fatigue, but those moments where our anxiety is heightened. It might be at the end of a very high stress day, how you feel when you're heading home, or it might be during a specific event or cumulative events that have happened during your day. But there's some things that you can do. One is to take a deep breath, or take a moment to take a few deep calming breaths. It's a very short, quick thing, and it can make a huge difference. The other that you can do, taking just a minute or two, take a minute or two away from everything else or look aside and take a mental vacation. In your mind, go somewhere intentionally, somewhere else that's relaxing. Maybe it's a favorite spot or a beach, and just be there for just a minute. Amazing the impact. Exercise, even if it's brief. Get out and take a quick walk around the block. Music. There's so much research on the impact of music for reducing stress, and we have direct control. So put in your AirPods, listen to one song, take a couple minutes, and then go back to what you're doing. Use your mind for things other than worry. I gave some examples, but others are reading, working on a crossword puzzle, but something other than using it to worry. In closing, it is so important to remember that this time that we're in right now, this is not forever. We have more control over our experiences than we sometimes think, and we have the ability to come out of this experience with newfound silver linings. Resiliency is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity. Our experiences now are what will have the longer term impact and what will create resiliency. more so than the event itself. I actually think that this pandemic has allowed us to slow down in life a bit, to pause, to enjoy simpler things, to reflect on what is truly most important. I had the incredible blessing of leading a focus group a few weeks ago with about 20 teens from all over the county. These teens didn't know each other, and they were so authentic and genuine in their sharing. But they shared things like realizing how much they missed the interaction at school, not the hanging out time with friends so much as just the little high fives in the hallway walking to class, hearing a friend compliment the shirt that they were wearing that day. And they were recognizing how valuable that is. Other kids in this group were sharing so eloquently how they've really come to realize what's so important in life, and it's not the same things that they would have named before the pandemic. And when I asked these kids what it was, they all acknowledged the stress and challenge, what it was that was helping them the most to get through this difficult time. The number one answer they gave were their families. So it was a pretty neat experience. As much as we would like to return to the way things were, I'm not certain this is going to happen. We simply have learned too much. So I encourage us all to use this opportunity to together build resiliency with students as well as within school communities. Again, thank you so much for the invitation to join with you today at the 2020 School Wellness Summit, and I wish you the very best for the rest of your day and learning. Thank you so much.